this is probably a chat about memories, because we can all remember Todd in nappies. So it goes back a while. The starting year, this is George Greenland. This was one of the three men that had this mad idea 40 years ago, and it's sort of where we've got to now. But George, do you want to tell them how it started?
It started when three Sidecar drivers, Jack Matthews, Eddie Chandler and myself, had been riding at the 2K Beach Race. And coming back from the 2K, sat on the boat having a meal, we said, we ought to run one of these in England. And Jack Matthews said, oh, we could do it at Southport. And I said, I'm not going all up north. I said, what? Western super-Mare is quite close. That'd be a good place to run. It's got a lovely big beach. So they all agreed, okay, go and talk to the council. So I made an appointment to come and see the council at Western super-Mare, sat down and talked to them, and they said, we'll let you know. And a few days later they wrote and said, sorry, no, we don't want another motorcycle event in Western super-Mare. The following week, when TMX, the Trials Motocross newspaper, came out, Mannix Devlin had written that George Greenland had tried to get a beach race going at Western, but it had been turned down. A couple of days after the paper came out, a certain Mr. Jones phoned me, your father,
It was.
Tony,
Yeah.
phoned me and said, if I could get the council to meet you again, would you come down and talk to them again? I said, yes, I don't mind. He said, you are the Greenland I used to ride with back in the 50s, aren't you? And I said, yes. So he said, oh, I'll try and arrange it. The next thing, they said, right, come down and see us again. So I went down and speak to them again, and they said, we'll try it for 1 year. And that was 83. So we had it that first year, and it was absolute chaos. We built all the course, just club members. All we had was ropes and stakes, and we roped and staked all the course out. And when the spectators started arriving, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, and there was no accommodation open in Western super-Mare, and all the people were going looking for accommodation. They were going for food. So Western super-Mare ran out of food, they ran out of drinks, they ran out of accommodation. People were going up to Bristol stop. And the police were getting a bit concerned because the traffic was jammed up out the motorway, people coming to watch. And it was absolute chaos, it really was. And after the event, so many people turned up, the council couldn't believe it. And they said, next year we'll make it a lot different. The following year it was still chaos. The first few years of running the beach race, there was, we decided that Jack, Eddie and myself were right drivers. We didn't know all the people who needed to know to come, put an event on. And there was a promoter called Dave Smith, and he said, oh, he would like to come and join us. So Dave Smith joined us as the promoter. He knew lots of people, and he was getting lots of motocross riders to come and in, so we needed him. So there were four of us then running it, and when we used to have a council meeting, there were us four, and there was perhaps two from the council, and the environmental lady, I remember, she said she hated motorbikes and wouldn't come to the meeting, so she never came. There was the police and the fire brigade, they used to come to the meeting, and that was it. We used to have 5 people at the meeting, and when I finished it, the last time I went, I think there was about 17 people at the meeting, and you couldn't get anything done. That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah. Now there's about 40 people. But John's just walked in and given us, because you were on about the first one, and I was there, and I think I was 14. Yeah, Roy went halfway through and had enough, and he said, oh, you can have a go. So he's like, put an helmet on it. And that was my first experience of riding.
Did you have a licence?
No. But yeah, it was mental. And I think we're just looking at pictures John Rutherford's just given us, and it's like chestnut fencing, George.
Yeah.
It used to be chestnut fence, didn't it? Or Graham probably knows.
Yeah.
The council used to do that, didn't they?
I was going to say, well, after that first and second year, we still did it. The second year we did all just poles, and we called it enduro. And then the council wanted, well, we've got to make, because the spectators they just walked in and walked. We didn't charge them. We only charged the riders to ride. Yeah. And the council said, well, we can make some money. So we'll fence it in. We'll take the money and you fence it in. We'll fence it in and take the money. So we said, fine. So the council fenced it all, and then they organised to take the money. Yeah. And all we did was the trade stands and the riders, and we ran it from that.
So very much the 2K-ish, because the 2K, the club organise the race or whatever, don't they? And then the town organise everything.
Yeah.
That's how it was used to be, wasn't it? It was like
We really tried to make it like Litouquet. We've ridden there a couple of times.
The Froome Club helped a lot with the early
An
race.
awful lot. Yeah,
Because
we did.
I was a kid. I remember in the dark taking the ropes down as a kid after it was over.
The chairman's a good friend of mine. I can't, his name escapes me, but
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb.
Yeah.
I went to see Jim Webb, and because I said to him what we were doing, and I said, "You've got I got miles of rope." He said, "I got it on big reels." I said,
that's right.
Yeah. He said, "I'll get some of the lads to come and help." So he brought a load of people up to help.
That was my dad, one of them.
With his rolls of rope. And Jim was a great help.
Yeah, he did. They helped, and they did all the scrutineering and that.
They did.
'Cause my dad was down here on Friday and scrutineered the first one.
Yeah.
Bikes had to be road legal, didn't they, the first one? Because everyone
We
was
started-
raiding all the bicycle
we
shops and
started
that
from
in
out-
town.
Yeah, that's right. We
To
started.
get bells and that to put on to make the bikes look road legal.
That's right. Yes. And
Well, we started a lot of times, didn't we, at
Because that's
Weston?
right down the road.
The first one was Locking Road car park.
It wasn't.
Very
It wasn't
Yeah,
the
that's
first
right.
one. We didn't expect that many people, did we?
So where have you ridden from then? Because I've done Locking Road and I've done Westland.
That's it, it's Western. Yeah.
What about you, Nibs? Where-
Yeah, I would say one you rode the year it was inside where they used to spray the helicopters. It was
That's it,
indoors.
yeah, it's about
Was it Hutton Moor? Was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
something like that? Yeah.
I
And we
paid the
started under the flyover.
Yeah, when they were building that supermarket,
Yeah.
we parked under the flyover one year.
Yeah, that's
What are the chances of having the park firmware like by the railway station or something?
zero because they want me to put fencing all the way down. And that,
Yeah.
that bit was manic, wasn't it? Well, not manic, it was fun. So we literally used to ride from here, didn't we?
Hutton, yeah.
To the beach.
But do you remember when we had the park firmware and one of the industrial? It was all empty, the industrial estate, because we ran we had a trial for the spectators to come and watch in the evening. And because Steve Saunders came and helped me, he set it all up for
Yeah.
me. And we started out there, and all the riders followed the police cars down. I remember it was young Paul Eddy, kept picking the front up and banging the back of the police van, dented all the way along. They were not happy. He kept bang.
So we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Not even me.
Well done, Paul. Thanks, Paul. Yeah. Moving to you then, Graham, because obviously the connection is from the beginning.
I can go back a bit earlier than that. I'll tell you about my sister first. To intrigue you. She was in her teens, she was a great swimmer. This was the mid-70s. And she swam at national level, and as parents do, my folks were taking her to the Midlands or to Wales or to the southwest to swim in these national gardens. And luckily there was another lad in Weston called Mark Jackson who was on the same trajectory. And my parents got friendly with his parents so they could share the travelling and or whatever to take these two kids to wherever they were going to these swimming gardens. And this Mr. Jackson, Mark Jackson's father, was one of the councillors at Weston, and it had no bearing at all at that time. And anyway, move the clock on forward another 10 years, and this is when my dad heard about the fact that the council's view was that they weren't interested in a load of Hell's Angels tearing it down the beach. Well, to my dad, that was like a red rag to a bull. And he said, right. So he called on Mr. Jackson, who by that time had elevated to, I think he was actually head honcho in charge of tourism for the town. So he went to see him and he said, look, he said, you haven't got to worry about what's going on the beach. He said, that'll be in the hands of a multiple British champion. These guys are all sporting motorcyclists. He said, there won't be a Hell's Angel in sight. He said, what you've got to think of is the fact that this is bringing tourism and visitors to the town at a time when normally the town is totally dead. And that's when they came up with the idea that, well, okay, maybe we ought to try this for 1 year. And so, as you say, the rest is history. But the fascinating thing, nobody knew, apart from George, nobody knew what to expect. You know, we thought, well, is this going to be a glorified motocross track? Or is it going to be sort of straights and jumps and high speed? Or is it going to be like, you know, they do this sand racing at the Channel?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
just sort of a big
Flat
oval.
sand, yeah.
Nobody really knew what was going to happen. So obviously people got their entry in, and this was the same year as the International 6 Days in Wales.
Oh yeah.
And I'd ridden a little 125 KTM in the 6 days, and I knew that it wasn't fit for a 3-hour cross around the beach race. So I was telling this tale of woe to somebody at work, and he said, you can borrow my bike. Well, that summer, he'd bought a brand new Honda XR 350. And he says, you can borrow my bike. I nearly bit his arm off. And I put the smallest back sprocket on it I could find, and the biggest front sprocket I could find. And this thing really would bloody motor on it, top if you could get it started. So anyway, we went down to the Park Fairway, which, as Gareth says, was down at the Locking Road car park then. And being a local, I got down there early to get a preferential point in the Park Fairway. It's hopefully straight out behind the police car. Well, I tried to start this XR 350 and there was no way it was going to start. And by the time I got it going, the whole Park Fairway had emptied. But luckily, being a local, I knew which route they were going to take, so I went the back street. And I just managed to merge in behind the police car as it went along the front. So we got down onto the beach, and in those days, you'd set out like a Le Mans start. There were two great big V-shaped ruts that the diggers had dug out. And so you put your bike in the one, and the riders have got a rut about 20 yards further back. Well, when I got down there, I was, pretty close to the front, and I just sort of dropped the clutch on this XR and dug a hole about a foot deep, backed the bike into it. So this bike was sat upright on its own, fuel on, kickstart out, and the seat was only about 2 feet off the ground. I thought, this is perfect. So backed up to the 20-yard line that we were supposed to be. And I mean, at that time, I was a 24-year-old whippet, and I thought, I can get to my bike as quick as anybody else here. And they let off a maroon. Yeah. No, it was a lifeboat maroon that we used to use in those days. So there was this one, bang, and everybody ran. And I left the bike with the kids, and this bloody XR, it went first kick. I could not believe it. And I was off like this. And I'm not saying I was in the lead. There were people around me, but there was nobody in front of me. Wow. And tanking down this straight, and I got it geared up to it. It must have been doing 80 miles an hour or something like that. And we got to the first corner, and nobody knew where the braking point was. And it was, those of you who are old enough, it was like going around a threepenny piece. It was stop, a bit more, a bit more, trying to get around this corner. And in those days, you'd built the first hill as a bloody stopper. And then it got a vertical face on it, about 20 feet high. And I just stuffed it straight into this hill. I could have taken any line, and I just stuffed it into the bottom of the hill. And I must have been there for about 2 hours. It was terrible.
Touching on that, because the start has always been fun. Like that Le Mans where you had to run it, it was chaos. But the digger in the middle of the start with the lights, do you remember that? And you're like halfway down the straight and you look up and there's a digger in front of you. And it's like
when it was the V formation Le Mans, a friend of mine, Paul Broadway, he propped his bike up on a piece of wood. We went back towards the sea, and his bike fell over. But not really, I was just falling over, a bit of a blow or whatever. When the flare went, he ran over, and the piece of wood had knocked the fuel tap clean off. Never started a race.
So shall we go to you then?
No, we're missing this.
Well, I haven't got a lot to say really. I'm Graham's son, so it's been part of the family my whole life. So since I've been old enough,
you know what it's all like. It's in the blood, and if your father did it and all the rest of it, then I'm afraid my 2 boys have been lumbered with it as well.
And I can't see that I'll ever not do it. It's part of my life, and I love it. It's the best day of the year, really.
And I think that's something that people miss. It's like looking at the Kellett family, looking at everyone. It's all about that family, social. Going back to you, Steve, isn't it? It's like everyone. We're all connected. We all want to get to normally October, and like we all sort of meet. Like today has highlighted to me probably what this event is about. Is like I haven't seen George probably for 10 years now, and we walked in here and we're talking about how this was, how that was. George, but you're 91 and still riding, so that gives me a bit of hope.
Better, really.
But just moving round to the Kellett family. Nibs, you're going to have to explain how you got yourself in so much debt with the boys.
I wish I could explain how I got out of it.
Maybe come back 10 years.
I mean, we live relatively local, which is over an hour away, so it's just always been part of it. I first rode in about 87.
Yeah.
I have missed a few years, but rode lots of different bikes. When I rode a sidecar once, I bought a YZ490. And I bolted a trial sidecar on the inside. It was an experiment.
Good idea.
Well, we tried to practice on it, and it just didn't really work.
Was that with the wife or?
Yeah. And a guy at work was a bit genned up on sidecar. I said, "Can you come out to the orchard and just see what I'm doing wrong? Because I just can't turn it." And he came out and he said, "I can see exactly the problem." He said, "You've got an 80-mile-an-hour bike with an 8-mile sidecar." What year was that we did that?
I believe it's 91.
But yeah, I've ridden loads of different bikes over the years. One year I had a XL 250 trail bike.
Yeah.
I went to qualify, or no, I went to scrutineer it on the Friday, and the guy failed me on wheel bearings. So I rushed all over town trying to get some wheel bearings, beat them out on the back of a trailer, put them in, and qualified it on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday morning, I got down, we were waiting in the holding area, and I'm just sort of sat waiting. And the guy tapped me on the shoulder, sort of looked down there, and it was a great big pool of oil underneath. So I just rode it until it was seized. Another notable one, I bought a 125 Honda on the Monday night before Weston. Worked on it through the rest of the week. Scrutineer, I'd never ever ridden it. Started the race, and I'm going down the back straight, and I realised the handlebars are really, really hard. I'll only get another 3 hours.
But that's something you touched on, because the young people in Europe have never done the qualifying, have they?
No, I said earlier, if you were lucky enough, you got 6 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We had 2 qualifying races on the Saturday, wasn't it? He made us do, and then if we were lucky enough to make it through, and that was fun.
Remember, there was people that you could ride for charity.
Yeah,
with you,
a lot of
and
people,
they avoid that, so that was quite an incentive for people to ride for charity.
And then if we move to junior, because you have sort of been here forever, and we're just looking in a program in the 65.
Yeah, I reckon I've been here for 15 years, but on many occasions I've rode 2 classes. So what was it, 2012 I rode the 85 class, which was Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And then I had a half-hour gap, and I went out in the solos. And I remember coming across the line, and they wanted an interview, and I was like, well, can we get on with it? Because I got to make the next race in a minute. And then we went to the holding pen as you run in, and I just put a clean T-shirt on. And you said you step back, and I'm just going on in like this. What was I, 15 years old? Oh, I'm the man. I'm the man. Yeah. And one bloke, oh, he's in a hurry, and he's covered in sand. And that was my first adult experience. And I made 125 Kawasaki, which was my brother's ties. Cheers for letting me borrow that, anyway.
Because the tyre came off.
Yes, I made 2.5 hours, and I was well, your best was like 32, maybe?
Oh, thanks for bringing that.
Yeah. So the goal was always to be better than 32. And I think all was going to plan until about 2 laps to go. The tyre broke up. So I did 1 lap with the tyre spinning, and then I stopped at the finish and waited and crossed over.
So touching on Ty then, so when was Ty's first one?
Do you reckon he did it 1 year earlier than me? Do you reckon he was 2005?
Yeah.
I don't
think you were old enough.
I'm not 100% sure. Maybe, maybe.
Same.
We'll do that.
Every year. So prepping 2 bikes. Oh my God, I recall that. Prepping 2 bikes,
And then Luce has ridden.
I have, Yeah, so I did definitely 6 years. It might be more than that, but 65s and 85s.
So best result?
Don't know. Definitely top.
That's my sort of answer as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely top 20, but I don't.
You had a lot of issues, mechanical issues, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Spark plugs.
I want to say 9th, but I'm not sure. That might have been my brother. I'm not sure. I'll have a look.
But then you were there in 2015, my first victory, and every single victory after that.
Been in the pits.
In the pits. On the phone.
Yeah.
Lap time.
So go on then, Mum, because you've done it. You haven't had a trophy that wasn't my fault because George didn't give it.
I can't remember if it was 99 or 2000, but I'm pretty certain it was 99. Because I parked out at Hutton, rode in past Hospital Roundabout.
KX80, wasn't it?
KX
100.
Okay,
KX 100.
Same bike as
Yeah.
the 2K.
Yeah.
Right.
No, KTX for the 2K. Yeah.
So, and I had to push the bike up the beach, dead engines when you hit the beach.
Yeah, I can remember that one.
And I did 2006. You wouldn't let 150s that year.
That was a good idea, to be honest. You should have banned them before.
And Ty happened to have one. Todd had a broken leg. Ty was desperate to race, so he raced your 65
Yeah.
in the 85s. And I thought, well, there's a spare bike.
Yeah.
Why not? Like you do.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And then Libs and I did the sidecar.
Who drove and who passenger?
I was passenger. I mean,
Yeah,
I had the raw
Yamaha
deal.
Yeah. It was really, really late, wasn't it? You told the story. What happened?
Well, you got a little excited.
Well, I was nearly finishing. I got excited. Yeah.
Yeah, we could see the checkers, and so we had about 2 corners to go, and he just literally went a bit too much. And we hit a log, I believe.
Hit one of those big pieces of
Post,
wood.
Yeah, catapulted me up the sidecar, leg up round my neck. He comes over and says, "Get out! There's a checkered." I'm like, "I think I broke my leg." So he picks me up, chucks me in the sidecar. We take the checkered.
Your leg wasn't broken.
It wasn't broken. We get back to the van, and I'm like, in a pretty bad way.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, do we go home or do we go to hospital?
And you're still here. So should we come to you, Steve? Because obviously I found out something I didn't know, that you've been here since birth.
Yeah. So how old was I in 83? 5, I think. But my dad was one of the scrutineers, so my involvement has been right from the very beginning. I don't remember much about the really early years. But growing up in Frome, obviously not far from here, I live up in Warwickshire now, so I'm like 3 hours each way to be here today. But yeah, I've always loved the beach race, always been involved in it. I've ridden in it 12, 13 times, first 3 or 4 times on a solo. I'm definitely not the fastest solo guy in the room today. And then did it in 2010, passenger in a sidecar for a mate of mine. And then 2014, me and my brother we raced sidecar cross anyway, and we bought an old bike just to do Weston, and we bring that down every year, and I think we're pretty much the oldest bike here now. Every year it's a 1986 bike, and it just does beach racing. Wow. So it's a KX 500 engine, and we turn up every year with it. I've almost got it running this year. The engine's back in the frame. We've got spark, so it should fire up one evening this week.
Don't take Todd for that.
Well, fingers crossed.
So what we're saying is sidecar people, isn't it really, George? They're a bit mad that had this idea.
It got to be a bit, mate.
You've done how many?
I think
9.
I've done about 8.
Yeah. In the chair.
Yeah. No, driving.
No, driving.
Driving.
I'm the driver. My husband passengers, and so we've done.
No, it used to be my passenger when I was doing all
Yeah,
that
so it was a
stuff.
good passenger. I started off with one passenger that got into a fight on the Friday night. Got put in a police cell for the night, so he didn't make it the next day. So I was on the tannoy saying, "Anybody wants a passenger?" It wasn't very good. But we finished. But when I was with my husband, he was a good passenger. We got back 10th one year. That was our best result.
Well, Gareth, you've heard a lot of stories about the beach race. What's your overriding memory or best story?
That's a good question.
For me, my worst part of the beach race is unfortunately 2009. But I think it connected all of us, unfortunately. To something that was horrific that then turned into, it's been quite positive, to see where Ty's gone with his life, to see what Todd has done, because, best sand rider in the world. You know, well,
We've got another round to go.
so for me, seeing that, and probably memories of the beach, I'd love to ride down that main road again. You know, and I think it's just, for me, every year, the buzz of coming here every year and trying to create something. And it's like this, we're sat here, aren't we, talking, but you can do that for 4 or 5 days down on the beach, because even...
you know, everybody's got their own story, haven't they?
Yeah, but like some of the locals now, like Graham said, I now go and meet the pensioners in Pegasus and whatever, but now the pensioners come out on the beach to have a look and, you know, want to know about the dogies and stuff like that. But it's probably the one event of the year for me that is still like we've discussed. It's like going back to the 80s, because you've got family, you've got a group of friends, haven't you? Like for me, I see Dan Thornhill come down here with Spike. It's like I raced with Spike for years, and like I can remember Dan in nappies, but it's the same thing. You can see all out, can't you? And that's what I get out of it. It's like, you know.
One of my best memories of the beach race was that one year, overnight, we had a fantastic storm, and the water came right up the beach, and all the courses had been built. And in the morning, when we got down there, all the fencing was up together. There was no outside fencing; it was all up together, and all the dunes had nearly gone. And we got the diggers out straight away trying to do it, but all the fencing was down. And I remember getting on the tannoy, and I was saying, well, we're going to have to delay the race, but we really need some help. We need somebody. We need people to come down and help us get the chestnut paling back up.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. There must have been 2,000 people walked down the beach, and they picked up that fence, and in a line they carried it, put it in, and the next bit was all put back. Within an hour and a half, the whole beach was rebuilt, and it was unbelievable.
That's a memory, because
It was
like
unbelievable.
the first time John Hall had stepped away, and it was Phil Roberts and myself. And remember, we had the storm that literally wiped the country out. Can't remember the year, but the same thing. We were walking down the seafront Sunday morning. There was glass coming out the Tropicana, and we had to cancel it. We cancelled it, didn't we?
Next week.
Yeah. And then we turned round, to be fair to the council, they turned round and said, well, the tide's okay next week, everything in place. And we got on the phone to everyone, and I can remember some Scottish guys literally had driven 12 hours to get home. We literally rang them, and we said, oh, we're going to run it next time. Oh, we'll come back now. And they literally turned around, you know. And that's what I mean. It is, like you say, with the beach, we've had it where the wind is back
Unbelievable.
there. And you'll get a group of people just come out and help you, which you don't see now in modern events. You know, if you go racing, everyone's into themselves. They're not into like, you know, shaking hands and
Is there one year that you think was extra special since you've been organising it?
The best year for me, and I can't remember it, was when we had Stefan, David Knight, Sidecar. There's a picture somewhere of 4 of them in a row coming down under the lawns, and they're all in the air, and the meeting was like nuts.
Do you remember when Alan Wright, Kawasaki boss, he brought his best men to ride, and he said to me, we're not going to compete for trophies, we're coming here for fun. And he said, we're having an enjoyable time.
Right.
And there used to be where the riders went by, there was a wall stuck out, and there was a big space here, and Alec Wright set a table up, and he had a waiter over his arm, and he laid out tea, and as his riders come in, he called them in. They all came in on their bikes and sat down, and all had tea at the table.
I don't remember that.
There were pictures of it in the TMX at the time. It was absolutely brilliant.
I did see a team green on the back
He
of
went
one of
and
them.
served their tea for them. They all the riders
To
sat
do
there.
that, you should have a pint ready for Todd all the
Yeah.
way round.
Yeah.
And recreate
We haven't
that
got time
happy
for
card.
Especially not with milk going.
Need a good year.
Good like Alec, wasn't it?
So what's your best memory?
I think my first victory, probably. When we first started, it was always for fun, and it was always the end of the season for us.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of got serious when Stu bought a brand new bike for me.
Yeah, remember
And
that.
he said, "Oh, there's your bike for the beach race."
I remember pushing it into scrutineering, and it was just like
Brand new.
Whoa.
This is quite serious.
I couldn't have done that, not in that sand.
it was so brand new.
Everyone always were taking their old bikes to Weston,
Yeah.
and we took this brand new bike, and I thought, "Oh, it's."
I think you got third, didn't you?
I got fourth that year. Fourth. It's quite serious. But
Yeah.
I remember my first year I won in 2016. Tano Leok was there.
Yeah.
And I remember riding with Tano, and I never really thought I could win. I thought, I'll go for a podium, I'll go for my best result. And it turned out Tano was one, I was two.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's never going to finish. He's going to burn the clutch out. I don't want to fight with him.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. And 1 hour I was fighting with him. And I backed off. I said, no, I don't want to fight. I'm not interested. And then an hour and a half, same thing. 2 hours, same thing. This is doing my head in. And in the final 30 minutes or 40 minutes, I sort of sat down and said to myself, like, if I want to win, I'm going to have to fight. And I'm going to have to push on. And I really charged. And I think that was the big lesson of beach racing for me, that you can't say this is the plan, this is the strategy. You've got to let it sort of come to you, basically.
And we had to have a fuel stop late on, didn't we?
With a lap to go.
Lap to go,
Did an
yeah.
extra
Stress.
And I don't know if you remember, there was a chaos because the wood came, one of the dunes with a bridge.
Yeah.
All the wood was exposed.
Yeah.
And I came there and it was just a sea of people, and I sort of stopped for a minute. I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I swing my cousin over there, just go. All right then. And as I pulled away, I looked over my shoulder and I seen Tannel was coming.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm going up this dune. Oh, what am I going to do? And then the bloke fell over and his front wheel was pitched up like that. I thought, perfect, that's a takeoff ramp. So I took off this bloke's front wheel and jumped right over the wooden bridge.
Yeah.
And I went on and won the race. And then I went to shake Tannel's hand, and that was a different story.
And you're still not a
big fan now.
That's years and years later.
Yeah, but I think
still a bit chill.
that was a memorable one.
Yeah, definitely.
The other ones have been so different. The second year, I took a whole shot and I led every lap.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of them have been similar to that one, to that. But the first year was a real lesson to me as such.
I think a lot of people don't realise how stressful it is to be a pit crew.
No, I do. So
You know, like, it seems easy, doesn't it? Rider comes in maybe twice, maybe three
Well, I
times.
guess-
Put a bit of fuel in, here's a goggles, have a jelly baby.
I guess
But
we say
it's not as like that. It's so stressful.
I guess we
isn't it?
elevated it when we had the brand new bike, but
Yeah.
it went to another level when Stu went down with his
The
laptop.
laptop.
And he was putting in the lap, how long the lap time
And
was.
then we were filling the
how much
bike,
fuel.
and then pouring that out to measure exactly how much fuel we'd put in there. But yes, it's.
I guess we take it
very
quite
busy
serious.
in the pits. It's
I
very-
can remember the chilled out guy with his plastic fuel can, as in a 5-gallon one,
Yeah.
not a fuel can.
Yeah.
Cigarette in his mouth, filling up. You can see the health and safety people there.
Yeah.
But it is brilliant when you're in the pits and you look around and see what other people do. Some people have a watering can.
Yeah.
And then we saw Willie Simpson actually had a 5-litre can, but a hole drilled in the back.
Yeah.
And okay, well, we'll do that next year. Everyone's got their own way. You know, some people come in, have a sandwich.
You take
Some
the helmet
people
off.
are coming in, quick.
I think we would get this, Steve, and have a sit down and chill.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's way different to how we pit. Way different to how we pit.
Yours are probably just as stressful.
50% of the time we get towed back in by the recovery
Brings
guys.
that in there, yeah.
Stressful.
I remember-
We don't have a pit crew.
I remember somebody once said to us, "Do you practice those pit stops at home?"
It looks like it. They're pretty good.
We used to do everything ourselves. We never had a pit crew.
Yeah.
You just come in, do it all yourself, and get out again.
Another stressful thing is being like Wednesday evening and the bike's got no spark or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm lots of times before Weston, I've got up at like 4 in the morning and got down into my garage working on the bike, and my wife comes in and goes, right, you've got to go to work now. And I'm like, right, okay, yeah, go to work, come home, literally get changed, don't even worry about dinner, just in the garage working on the bike, thinking I've got like 8 hours in the garage and it's got to be running, or we've spent a hell of a lot of money and we've got nothing
We
to
used to
take.
put another lever on the handlebar to
Pull the choke on.
Yeah. Maybe put 2 head gaskets in. And steel sprockets over in chains.
Yeah, one year we got that
it's a
hot.
lot of work.
We got that hot with the motor that the head, but the bolts stretched the studs and let the head off, and we lost compression and the bike stopped, and we were like, what the hell? And then the spectator was like, the head's off, and there was like a 5 mil gap. So we got towed back to the pits, tightened it all back down, poured water into the radiator, and it started up again. So we went again. A lap later, same thing. It got that hot that it stretched and the head was off again. Oh my God.
But that's the thing you never get you don't get at any other races.
No.
You get people that ride in their jeans and things.
Yes,
People
it's
will.
the London Marathon.
Exactly, it is. Exactly that.
The
Oh,
C90,
the
the
gorilla.
African twins, the C90 guy in the suit when it fair play to it.
Yeah.
Guy in the gorilla suit.
Got, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
God,
right,
that
yeah.
must be
It was quite stressful organising.
Some
it.
of the
I'm sure it is.
One of the pictures of us is me punching the air as we're going over the finish line, and it's not the finish. That's the end of the first lap. And we're like an hour in, and we're like, yes, we've done a lap. We're going to get our names in the paper.
How many hours was that?
That's an hour. That's about an hour to do a lap for us on the sidecar.
Now, as long as you've done a lap, you get classed as a finisher.
Right.
Because you've touched, right, the cost of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've like so much.
Yeah.
And it's like when Travis and all came over and rode, everyone wanted to be in those results and in those programs. But isn't it? It's like to do a lap is an achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on a bike you've built yourself. But yeah, it's literally, there's so many different
Bits.
parts on that bike. And it's all built with what I've got laid around in the garage and things. So when it starts up on the Saturday morning and we get down onto the beach and away at the start, we're over the moon with that. Then you get a lap and you're like, wow, this could really happen.
Can I just say that while we're gathered here, that we ought to be congratulating Gareth for taking the bull by the horns and turning it into the truly international spectacle that it is today.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hard work.
And that's,
Very good.
in the back of that, that's only because of Jack, George, you know. It's only those guys, isn't it? It's everything.
I think they started the ball rolling, Gareth, but with your input and your hard work, you've turned into something
And
quite
it's
special.
harder to run now, isn't it? With the health and safety,
With health and safety,
environmental,
yeah.
all that.
With all the crap in it,
It's
don't you?
Yeah.
much. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy then,
No.
but there are new challenges now. Really.
Dan, you were telling a story earlier about the health and the environmental woman that came and didn't want
Yeah.
you to run.
Yeah.
And
She probably mentioned the Hells Angels. That is
Well, actually,
Yeah.
the council got some environmental specialists to come down,
Yeah.
an offshoot of the council that didn't like the event. They got them down and said, oh, this beach race is ruining our town, it's
Yeah.
ruining the sand, it's ruining all the bits and pieces. So they got this team down, which cost them quite a lot of money. And they were there for a week when we were building the course. And the council, these odd people were rubbing their hands thinking we're going to stop this race.
Yeah.
And when they got the report, it said, moving all the sand from the town end up the other end is doing the beach the world of good.
So we've had exactly the same. 2005.
You had the same?
Yeah, 2005 they commissioned this report, cost tens of thousands of pounds, and it was exactly the same. It was found that actually being on the beach and moving the sand
That's
and it
right.
was better for the
That's
whatever
okay.
lives in the beach, you know. But green, whether it's in the UK now or in wherever we are, is becoming an issue.
Well, we always
for
used to
sure.
move the sand from the town end up to make
Same, yeah, we did
You did the
same.
same.
Yeah.
Because it used to be quite high up that wall down the town, and we used to say, well, get that move first, because the councils they like that move. We used to take that up, and of course the environmentalists say, yes, that's a good idea, it's wonderful, yeah. And that's not, they didn't want to
Literally,
hear that.
that's what we've been doing today is walking the beach because we've got
Yeah.
similar issues, you know, and it's like we're doing exactly the same, but
Yeah.
we're telling the people that,
Yeah.
you know, A, we pay to go on the beach, don't we, and B, we save them quite a lot of money by moving
And obviously,
thousands of tons of sand.
the beach race still does the town a lot of good, doesn't it? I mean,
Massively, yeah.
There's a fantastic number of people come in and
Well,
buy
everything's
food,
full, isn't it?
drink,
Accommodation's full, everything's full.
accommodation, everything, yeah.
You know, as long as we're breathing, we'll be on the beach as long as we're allowed to be on it, I think. You know?
That's the problem, innit? If you go to a new beach now, like with Weston, with Latuke, with any other beach race, it's got history behind it. So Latuke will continue because it's been running for so many years. And same, I hope, with Weston.
for sure.
We've got 40 years or 39 years behind us. come on, like let's
Well, I
ride.
I'm going to go till 50 and then I might retire. I hope we're going to 50.
Have you ever been to Le Touquet?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
It changed a lot though from when I rode because
for sure.
they used to use all those dunes, and now there's a village in the dunes, and they just make a course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
You've had a few okay results, haven't you?
Yeah, not too bad.
He won last year.
You won it last year,
Won
George?
last year.
Oh.
Yeah. So my first Le Touquet was 2019, and I rode 21, 22, 23. Yeah.
I won the sidecar class twice.
Did you? When did they stop the sidecars then?
Yeah, because I couldn't really remember that.
I won it in 80s. I can't remember. 83,
It was mid-80s,
84,
wasn't it?
About 83, 84 or something.
Yeah. And was it a 2-hour race then for you?
3 hours.
It was 3 hours.
3
then?
hours,
Well,
yeah.
I
Mixed in
think
with
they were
solos.
out with the bikes,
They had that
like
long,
Weston
long-
used to do.
Mixed in with solos. Yeah.
6 kilometres straight.
Yeah.
That's something I'm intentional, isn't it? Is when George used to make us run the solos with the sidecars and everything. Remember them 3-wheel things?
And the
made?
Yeah, that was much better.
I've got mates who still bring them.
I thought that was much better with the sidecars and the solos ran together.
Not when
I
your
like it
solos
better.
laid it down on the floor and someone wants to run
Yeah,
over
and you
you.
ran over him.
You wouldn't like that as much.
I'm not sure I would. No.
Did you change that?
I thought it was much better, but there
I
we
got
go.
fed up of getting run over by a epoxy sidecar.
But you had a reputation in the enduro circuit, George. If there were people floundering in a bog, and it only needed somebody to say, "Look out, George is coming," and the bog would be clear. Because you knew if you were in there or your bike was in there, George would aim for it to get some grip through it.
Was that forced on you to split it? Like
No,
health
no,
and
it was-
safety, or
I think it was just talking of racing in general because there was a lot of injuries and not being funny, it is the chair boys or the quad guys that end up running a solo guy over because usually they've gone down the far side of the dune, you're taking a sidecar over the top and you ain't stopping it going down the other side. It's like, so it was
just
a bit,
if we get to the top.
well, yeah.
Quad's
Some of
not
the
in
good
your way.
ones did, yeah.
Wishful thinking.
There's 4x4 quads are a nightmare.
Yeah,
Because they get stuck and just reverse into you and just start ramming you.
Yeah,
out
but
the
you've
way.
got to thank the 4x4 quads really because without the 4x4 quads you'd have
less.
half the
Yeah,
entry.
I don't mind them being out there. It's
At
all
the end
part
of the day,
it,
like
but-
there's no manufacturers in sidecars, and there's hardly any manufacturers in quads nowadays.
Yeah.
At least there's plenty of manufacturers in 4x4 quads.
Agrees.
And
Yeah.
people, farmers
Yeah,
coming and riding.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still another
And
bike
it's, I think,
in the
yeah.
grass. And it's comical when you watch the quad race now that you see all the sports quad arrive at the first dune and go on 4x4. I'll follow you.
Flatten it down.
Put the ruts in. Yeah.
And I'm sure you know Steve Atkins is desperate to win it on
I
a
know,
4x4.
Yeah, he's
And
getting
it might
close.
happen.
It might happen, but
He's
the
gonna
problem
do it, I
is,
Just not quick enough down the straight.
well, he's quicker down the straight now. He'll
it?
do 80 mile,
The 44? Are they?
80 mile an hour on the quad. But the problem is the last half an hour, last hour,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sports quads are taking minutes out of him, literally minutes, because you can't ride a 4x4 at the same pace.
So he's got to build sufficient lead in that first hour.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends how
To let him
depends how crazy Gareth goes with his circuit.
Don't do that square edge stuff this year.
Bribery.
That killed us. Like Brett Wilkinson was fast through there on a sidecar, but our old outfit had shook it to bits through there.
I think it was good, really, because everyone always goes on Weston of old when men were men, the dunes were crazy, and all of this, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. But last year it was real Weston. It was real hardcore. It was enduro, and the other thing is, like we've spoke about in the past, the bikes are getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
You know, what am I doing now? 22 laps.
Yeah.
It's a long time, so you make the track shorter, you make it more extreme.
Yeah.
It helps, doesn't it? What's the fastest lap? Maybe 8 minutes on
you're down to 8
occasions.
minutes now, yeah.
So 8 minutes over 3 hours. That's a long time.
I remember after the event sometime digging bikes out with a digger.
Yeah.
Because they'd sunk in there,
Yeah.
just been able to tank them. You can only just see the bike. You know, dig
And
them
I've
out.
seen it as well when the bikes broken down and so much roost on top of it.
Yeah.
You can't see
Almost
it.
buried.
yeah.
They get it
But
out of the high mac.
That's it's when you see the enduro boys because they know how to get out of a bog, don't they? And the motocross boys.
Yeah, they don't go in it.
And yet you can ride that part of the course one lap and it's a bog, and then everybody keeps away from it. And if you go right in it the second time, it's like concrete.
I've
over the top
noticed
of it.
that.
Yeah.
I've noticed that sometimes
Yeah.
you can ride over it thinking, oh,
Yeah.
that's going to be scary,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
literally like concrete.
It makes a lot of difference at Weston whether if the tide is turned and it's coming in, everything gets soft quick.
Yeah.
If it's going out, it's drying up all the time
Yeah,
because the
it's
water draining out of where you're going.
Yeah.
And so really,
It's a valid idea.
that was a nightmare for us.
How's the tides this year, Gareth?
Going out.
Oh, I do. Well, we should be in t-shirts anyway. We're in September.
Hang on, we're in August and we've been in February. Yeah,
It's the
tides.
earliest one, isn't it?
It's probably the earliest one.
Yeah.
Definitely the earliest one. We've never been in September.
Always used to be around November the 5th, November the 11th.
In September, you still have holidaymakers down on the beach.
They can buy a ticket.
I mean, what Gareth has proposed is the way to do it, because what you've got to remember, although all our hardcore bikers will come and watch, the profit, the cream of it, is getting Joe Public down there, have interest. And if it's pouring with rain and blowing a gale, Joe Public won't go. But if it's a nice sunny day, then say, oh, come on, let's go down to the beach today to watch the beach race.
Well, and you can't
And
take
that's the difference between holding it in September and holding it in November.
You can't take the public to the track, so you take the track to the public. That's the benefit.
But I think
of
the
all
thing
big
we're
races.
touching on there, Graham, is like this, as I like to know.
Yeah.
When it started, it was a bunch of
Yeah.
guys, friends having fun. Now, a marshal wants 50 quid. We were talking about the bulldozers. It's like we use 100 gallon a day in each bulldozer. And all those costs are like, and the council used to provide the chestnut fencing and stuff like that, didn't they? And it's like things have just changed. Everyone's, the world has changed, unfortunately.
Oh yes, unfortunately, yeah.
And you never know, in 50th year, you might have electric bikes going around.
Well, won't we?
What, for 3 hours?
Maybe not for 3 hours.
Half-hour race, that'll be it.
We'll have electric bikes
Short
and fire
race.
extinguishers.
Theoretically, though, it can only benefit it, can't it? There's not going to be any hindrance, is there?
It's only going to
electric.
benefit.
Our biggest issue is noise, isn't it? Even on the beach, there's noise, isn't it? So as soon as the noise disappears, I think we probably will move. But you don't moan about mountain bikes on the beach, do they?
Yeah.